Hello, young scholars. Here we are, period one video. Really, enough of that already. Let's get to work. All right, so welcome. It's gonna be videos gonna be split into two videos, just because that's how it uploads onto YouTube. Try to make this a little better than the last one. So first off, please go to Neo, print off the 3-pager for this video, so that you can take notes on it. If in the alternative you can't, you don't have a printer, let us know. Email me, and we could print this out for you and send it to you. Another thing you could do is just create your own 3-pager in handwriting. Not printing it out. It's your choice. But if you don't have a printer, we want to help you out. So know that. So let's move on. First place, East Asia. So there's some dates on here that aren't on your handout. You've got your, before 1200, you've got the Sui, Tang, Song dynasties. And all of those guys are building off the Han dynasty as well. So Han dynasty starts Confucianism, and Buddhism arrives, and all that stuff. And then so all these dynasties from here on out have those civil service exams and all that stuff. The Sui dynasty has the Grand Canal. You might have heard the Grand Canal. The Tang has the Grand Canal. And then by the Song, by 1200, China's booming. They've got the Song coming back. Trying to work on my lighting. With the Song dynasty coming back, Confucianism comes back. It's blended Neo-Confucianism. Filial piety is going to come back big time with that fun stuff, foot binding. You might remember that. And what else? What else we got here? Champa rice is going to cause a huge boom in population. They're going to have a highly productive economy with huge, printing, porcelain, silk production, steel production. Huge cities like Hangzhou, China, like with 1 million people, giant. China's basically killing it at this point in history. I'm trying to figure out my lighting here. That seems to help if I stay back. All right. China, during this period, also has, again, the civil service exam, really well-organized government. They've got the gunpowder that it's going to go on the Silk Road with the Mongols and affect Europe and everyone. What else? The Song dynasty is going to end when they're conquered by the Yuan dynasty or the Mongols. We'll talk about that in a minute. After the Mongols is the Ming dynasty, and they were basically coming back from Mongol rule, rebuilding, and this kind of gets us into the next period, but during this is when they have their shipbuilding and their huge fleet. Zhonghua Starfleet is during this period. Very exciting development in history. Moving on. Oh, I'm trying to think about nope. Map of China, very exciting. You do note the Song dynasty has lost their northern half at the time that the Mongols invade them. I also think I've got some Japan dates. Please remember, Japan in Unit 0 has borrowed heavily from China. China have an emperor. They have an emperor. They have Confucianism. They have Buddhism. But by 1100s, so all through period 1, Japan has feudalism with a high Chinese influence. They also have their native religion, Shintoism. All right, moving on. The Mongols. This is a big development in 1200 to 1450. Right at the beginning of the period, Genghis Khan is going to become the unifier and then lead on basically a huge conquest that's going to lead to him conquering China completely by 1279. conquering Persia, conquering Russia. It's nuts. These Mongols go crazy and invade everyone. And why do we care? Well, I guess we should know about this stuff. Once they conquered everyone, they're known for their religious tolerance and also promotion of trade, which is going to lead to a lot of stuff spreading all over the place. The Mongols are going to set up a dynasty in China, the Yuan dynasty. And the big thing is they won't use the civil service exam. But other than that, try to run it like a good old Chinese dynasty. In Russia, you might remember it was a little different. Russia wasn't as valuable, so the Mongols ruled Russia from afar. But they still ruled it and were brutal there. But they did. Some Russia princes did benefit from Mongol rule, like Moscow benefited from Mongol rule. And then the whole Mongol experience is really going to lead to the Black Death of 1350, roughly. That's a big one to know, big date. It's going to affect Europe, it's going to affect China, and it's going to shut down the Silk Road, kind of like COVID, shutting down trade today. So it's a very similar idea, happens with the Black Death, and it really is going to weaken the Mongols as well, and really in many ways lead sort of the end of the Silk Road as significant in history. All right, so let's move on. There's your Mongol Khanate situation. So roughly this would be about 1300. By that point, they've conquered all over the place. And this leads to a great time on the Silk Road as far as promotion of trade. And because there's unified rule, trade flourishes. This will allow people like Marco Polo in the late 1200s to travel the Silk Road and visit the great cities of China and write his great book and all that stuff. Moving on. South Asia. During this period is when Islam enters. It actually enters before the Delhi Sultanate, but the Delhi Sultanate is an Islamic kingdom. These are Turkic invaders. The Turkic people will convert to Islam, and there's this nomadic people, and then the Turkic people have a big influence here in India, but also in the Ottoman Empire and the Seljuk Turks. All right, hello. This is part 2 of the period 1 review. The last video kind of cut off on South Asia, a little tech difficulties, so we're going to pick up there. So again, Turkic Muslims. The Turkic peoples of Central Asia adopt Islam and then start conquering others. So the Delhi Sultanate is one such Turkic Muslim group. And so basically it's the introduction of Islam into India, where it's going to become a minority religion. From this point all the way to today. And that's really the main thing to remember. We'll talk about Islam more later, but the Sufis, the chill Islamic mystics are a huge part of converting many Hindus to Islam. But still, during this period in history, Hinduism is firmly in place. It's the dominant religion, and it's the same old story where the caste system and the religion work together to create a social religious system for most of India. So that won't change. We're not really going to spend a lot of time more on South Asia. Moving on. Okay, Middle East. There's a crap ton here, if you'll note, and I'll try to show it bigger. And if you want to take a screenshot of this, I'll make it even bigger for a minute. All right. So first of all, I'm messing with my video. So we drop into the Middle East in 1200. It's a really weird time to start history. So at this point, Islam is already present. They've been present since 622. And basically from the very beginning all the way through this part of history, the big thing about Islam is, for AP anyway, is this tradition of combining religious, political, military rule. Muhammad was a religious political leader, and all these early caliphates are the same thing. So caliphate is essentially an Islamic empire with religious and political rule and the leader. And another example of that, or part of that, is Sharia law, where it's Islamic law is also political law. So before the Abbasid Caliphate, there was other caliphates. The most important major one was the Umayyad Caliphate right before. So all during this period, the Sufis are in play, helping spread Islam. Pilgrimage of Mecca has started, helps unify Islam all through history. And the Sunni-Shia split happens really early on. Not that important as far as this part. So then Abbasid Caliphate dropping in 1200 is a kind of in its decline, but they still have a very strong city, Baghdad, large trade city, highly cosmopolitan, international, strong government, and they've got the House of Wisdom, where they're very open to outside learning and the knowledge of India and Greece, and they're basically